Good morning, students. So again I am here to take your second session of poetry. How are you all? I wish again you people are very well, very safe and healthy with your family. So as you all know, on that day I explained you all the two paragraphs, the heart of the tree. So I guess you all have written the lines on that day, and if not, you need to get it from the any PDF file that you can load it from the net and get the lines from the net. So on that day I explained you all the heart of the tree by Henry Carla Burnham. So here again I am giving you a small repetition of the poem. I am going to repeat the lines of the poem. So what does he plant who plants a tree? He plants a friend of sun and sky. He plants the flag of breezes free, the shaft of beauty towering high. He plants a home to heaven and I, for song and mother croon of bird. In hushed and happy twilight heard, the treble of heaven's harmony. These things he plants who plants a tree. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants cool shade and tender rain, and seed and bird of days to be. And years that fade and flush again, he plants the glory of the plain. The harvest of a coming age, the joy that unborn eyes shall see. These things he plants who plants a tree. Again the third paragraph, it's written over here. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants in sap and leaf and wood, in love of home and loyalty, and forecast thought of civic good. His blessings on the neighborhood, who in the hollow of his hand holds all the growth of all land. A nation's growth from sea to sea stirs in his heart, who plants a tree. So I have read the full entire poem. So first I am giving you the small things that you have already read on that day in the first session. So basically in this poem, the poet celebrates the plants, the nature and the person who plants a tree. The poet presents how a plant is the heart of the developmental process, how planting trees is the sure way to progress, and how planting trees is core to the existence of the future generation. So the poet seems to be anxious about the upcoming generation, as he has told in the second paragraph, thus for their survival, growth and development. He seems to be making an indirect appeal to all the human beings of the world that they should plant trees for the well-being of society and its citizens. Through the poem, the poet also gives a great moral, as the heart of tree is full of kindness and generosity and does not show any discrimination, and blesses all those who take care of it or even who neglect it. In the same way, the human beings should create an emotional attitude towards tree, and knowing it the most important part of their life and earth. They should care it and give their contribution in growing more trees, and thus they should make the universe a heaven. Clear? They should make the universe a heaven. So here again the poet is telling, the third paragraph the poet is telling, what does he plant? Who plants a tree? Again the poet is asking the same question. See, in the very first line, again in the third paragraph, the poet is repeating the line, what does he plant who plants a tree? Again he is asking, again he wants to tell the more benefits, the one who plants a tree. He plants in sap and leaf and wood. The poet refers to the different parts of the tree. Different parts of the tree. What are the different parts of the trees? That is such as sap, leaves and wood. And says that every part of the tree is very useful. Every part of the tree is very useful. As we love our family, the same way we should also love our plants. We should plant more and more trees. Here the word sap. Sap means the liquid in a plant that carries food to all the parts of it. The word leaf. Leaf, you all know every tree has leaf. The word over here is loyalty. Here you can see the word loyalty. Loyalty means the quality of being true and faithful in one's support. Here the word we have used forecast. Forecast means to see or to know. To see or to know that something is going to take place in future. Something good is going to take place in future. Civic good. Civic good is well-being of the people, very good things of the people or citizens living in the same town or city. Same town or city. Hollow. Hollow means the empty space. Empty space. And the word growth. Growth means the process of growing in an increase. When increment, an increase in something. The process of growing, an increase in something. Clear? So this is clear. So what does he plant? Who plants a tree? Again the poet wants to tell what does he plant? Who plants a tree? He plants in sap and leaf and wood. As we love our home. As we love our home. See, whenever we love our home, our country, our planet, our neighborhood, everything, definitely we love. But if we are loyal to our home, then we will definitely, if we are definitely loyal to our home, our country, our planet, we will definitely plant trees. We will definitely plant trees. The poet further he is elaborating, he is telling many other benefits of planting a tree. When one plants and nurtures a tree, good values like love and loyalty are planted. If we plant a tree, definitely the plant will give sap, leaf and wood, and definitely it will be the one who plants a tree, he will definitely nurture a tree. On what kind of tree? For the like love and loyalty. You are planting love and loyalty are being planted. So due to having intense feeling of love for his family and for the entire universe, the poet is talking about the entire universe, he shows great concern about the future of the earth, because he is talking about the entire future. If we plant a tree, we are talking about the entire future of the earth. So the man who plants a tree tries his best to make welfare of all the people without any discrimination. He is not going to do any discrimination if he is planting a tree. He is helping, he is very loyal, he is very loving towards his family, towards the entire universe. Though he knows well that he may not be able to reap all the benefits. No. He is not going to reap all the benefits. The feelings of others' welfare remains strong in him. In fact, the man who plants a tree, the man plants trees so that human beings can get food from the plants, sap and leaves. So suppose I am planting a tree, definitely my full further generation is going to eat its fruits, is going to eat its, use the leaves. So besides they can get the wood also and other things from the tree. Wood also they are going to get and other things also from the tree. By planting a tree, the man, basically if we plant a tree, if I am planting a tree, the man showers his blessings on the neighborhood. The full universe, he showers his blessings. While carrying the sapling in the hollow of his hand, he is carrying the sapling in the hollow of his hand, he holds a gift for the further progress, not only for his own country, but for the entire universe. So this thought creates emotion in his heart, hence he is inclined to plant a tree. He is ready to plant a tree. Again the poet is telling the man, I am not able to reap all the benefits of the tree which he is going to plant, but whatever I have planted, but the other people will reap the benefits from it. By planting a tree, man displays his devotion, his affection towards his precious abode, the earth, where we live, the earth. Planting of the trees is also a fulfillment of the social thing, since his actions contributes to the growth of his nation and ultimately to the world that he inhabits. So the full process of advancement of this country germinates from the forward-looking idea in the man's heart that plants a tree. His blessings on the neighborhood. If suppose the one is planting a tree, his blessings, he is showering, he is giving his blessings on the full neighborhood, full universe. Who in the hollow of his hand? Why he is there in the capital letter? Why he is there in the H is there in the capital letter? H is there in the capital letter because of some reason. Because the capitalization of his by the poet almost gives a divine status to the man who plants a tree. Because he has the power to alter the destiny, not only to his neighborhood and nation, but also in an indirect way, the whole of humanity. The whole of humanity. So the person who plants a tree, he showers his blessings on the neighborhood. He is the divine status. He gives a divine status to the man who plants a tree. Because he has the power to alter the destiny, not only of his neighborhood and nation, but also in an indirect way, the whole of humanity, the full humanity. So the poet gives a divine status to the man who plants a tree. Divine status, because he has the power, he has the full power, because he is planting a tree. Last two lines are left of this that I am going to write on the top. A nation's growth from sea to sea. Again the poet is repeating the last line. A nation's growth from sea to sea stirs in his heart. Stirs in his heart who plants a tree. See, again the poet is telling, a nation's growth. If suppose I am planting a tree, a nation's growth from sea to sea, not only over here, but the entire universe. Will definitely get the benefits of this. The entire universe. And the word means over here stirs. Stirs meaning is, stirs, you can see the word stirs over here. Here the stirs meaning means makes feel strong emotion. From sea to sea. From sea to sea means throughout the world, entire world. So this thought creates emotions in his heart. Hence, he is inclined to plant a tree. Inclined means he is emphasized to plant a tree. So the person who is planting a tree, in direct way, he is helping the whole of humanity. Everyone he is helping. He is helping everyone by planting a tree. The poet makes a universal plea for planting more and more trees to save the earth and its environment. He presents a person with a heart who cares for the planet and therefore plants trees. The poet celebrates such men who are greatly inclined to plant more and more trees. The poet points out that it is because of such people that the world is still alive and progressing. We are taking breath just because our forefathers, they have planted a tree, and we are getting the benefits of that because your forefathers have also planted a tree. So last paragraph, basically the poet is stressing the significance of man's heart. You know why the name of the poem, why we have used the word heart, and the last also he has used stirs in his heart. Here also he has used the word heart. What exactly is the meaning of that particular word stirs? Heart, sorry, over here. The heart is regarded as one of the most valuable parts of human body. Everybody has heart. If we don't have, then we will not alive. So when the human heart pumps the blood, all the vital materials and nutrients are carried by this process. Only when the heart pumps the blood, it is able to transport oxygen from one part of the body to the another. Similarly, a tree has some certain qualities which are as essential as human heart for survival. So, trees absorb carbon dioxide and other harmful gases and release which gas? Oxygen for us to inhale. If trees are not there, definitely we are not going to get the proper air to live. So trees like human heart provide us with sap, leaf, wood, that is all the required minerals, nutrients and material things. As the heart maintains human life, the tree also maintains the plant and animal's life in the full universe. Thus, the heart signifies the most important quality of the tree. The heart signifies the most important quality of the tree. So here the poet is stressing the significance of man's heart, his feelings, his dreams and aspirations behind planting a tree. The poet's making a universal appeal in an indirect way to plant more trees and save the forest, which are great wealth, not only for human beings but also for the nation. So the poets persuading us to have liberal attitude towards trees and forest. Here the poet has again used the same repetition of the letters, that is SS. So here we have used which figure of speech, that is alliteration. So this full poem consists 3 stanzas and 9 lines each. This full poem consists 3 stanzas of 9 lines each, and all the 3 stanzas begin with a question, and the poet himself gives the answer to the question. The poet, with its very simple and vivid use of diction, has an attractive rhyme scheme. And the rhyme scheme over here is, when you will see the poem, when you will see the full poem, you will get a rhyme scheme over here. In every paragraph, you see the last word. Suppose you have seen the word tree. The last word I am talking about each and every paragraph. Sky. This is the rhyming pattern that I am telling. Free. Clear. And then high. Then we have used the word an eye. Then we have used the word bird. Then we have used heard. And we have used harmony and tree. So this full poem consists of 3 stanzas containing 9 lines each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Clear everyone? So first line we start the rhyming pattern, and we have written all the last words of the poem. All the last words of the first stanza. Each line you see the last words is this. And how to get the rhyming pattern? We start with A. Tree and sky. They don't have the same. Tree. We will start with tree. Suppose we give a name to tree A. Sky. Tree and sky, there is no combination. Then here we will be giving B. But tree and free, both are same. Again it will be getting the A. Means A, B, A. Sky high, sky high, sky high. Both are same. So again B, an I. Again sky high, an I. Sky high, an I. Again it will be B. Then again we have the word Which word? That is bird. That is entirely different. So we'll be giving this see. Again bird heard, bird heard. Again see. Clear everyone? Again we have given the word see, see. So tree, free, harmony and tree. Again it has the same, that is A and A. Tree, harmony. See, the rhyming pattern is coming same. So what will be the rhyming pattern of this? A, B, then again A, B, B, C, C, A, A. So rhyming pattern is A, B, A, B, B, C, C, A for each stanza. Now one stanza I did, second and third stanza you please do it at home. Clear everyone? Is it clear? So again I am telling you all the moral of the poem. The poet is about the beauty or the satisfaction of planting a tree. The poet describes the benefits of planting a tree and makes us aware of our responsibility towards earth and human beings. So when somebody plants a tree, he not only plants a tree but plants a friend of sun and sky, as it was told in the first paragraph. He plants a friend of sun and sky and breeze. The sky's brightness, sun's warmth and the touch of breeze makes them a friend of a plant. The man who plants a tree plants a shelter for the birds and animals. He plants a future. He basically plants a future. The tree brings rain and coolness to the environment. The tree brings rain and coolness to the environment. It becomes an identity of the habitat. It becomes an identity of the habitat. It becomes food for future generation. It becomes the food. If we plant a tree, it becomes a food for the future generation. By planting a tree, the man becomes a good and responsible citizen. If suppose I am planting a tree, definitely I will be becoming a very good citizen. Good and responsible citizen of nation. He brings joy and blessings to the neighborhood. If suppose I am planting a tree, I am bringing joy and blessings to the neighborhood. Or you can say the entire universe, my neighborhood, my city, everywhere. So all this makes the land. What exactly is the main thing? It only makes the land fertile, and the next thing, that is the boon to the mankind. Boon. Boon means when we get the blessings from God, we get the boon of the mankind. So everybody should plant a tree. Everybody should plant a tree. So one question that comes in my mind, what exactly the tree produce? Why is the person inclined to plant a tree? Why does the tree, what exactly does the tree produce? According to me, when a tree is planted, it produces sap, which is the very vital juice that circulates throughout the tree. It also produces leaves and wood. The man who plants a tree does so because he loves his home and is very loyal to the world. If suppose I am planting a tree, so definitely I am also circulating what? My loyalty to the world in which I live. If suppose you will also plant a tree, today you also take a oath that you also have to plant a tree. So definitely you will become loyal to your family, more loyal to your family, and wherever you live. Wherever you live. Clear? One more question in the last paragraph was there. What universal plea does the poet make? And what does he celebrate in this poem? The poet makes a universal plea for planting more and more trees. So you all should also take a universal plea for planting more and more trees to save the earth and its environment. He presents a person with a heart who cares for the planet and therefore plants trees. The poet celebrates such men who are greatly inclined to plant more and more trees. The poet points out that it is because of such people that the world is still alive and progressing, because our ancestors, they have planted a tree. So that is why we are getting the proper air to plant, to live. Otherwise there is no use. If you get the workbook from the net of Treasure Trove Poetry, so you have the very first chapter, The Heart of the Tree. Open the book, get the introduction from the book once again. There are few questions based on the 3 paragraphs. Try to solve all the questions, and if any query, so when we'll be meeting in our school, then again we'll be doing that thing in the school itself. So this poem is complete. Any doubts, anything, please do write down. Whatever the things I have explained, please write down somewhere. It will be helpful for you all. See, in the first semester, we have 2 poems, 2 short stories, and the drama. Clear? Drama of the Merchant of Venice. First, I have started with the poetry just because you people are familiar with the poems. But as you all are reading the poetry, so you all need to get the knowledge from class 8 grammar book, as I told you on the last session also. Not session, I have explained you all to see the figures of speech. So, we have in semester 1 the 2 poems, The Heart of the Tree, and another one is The Cold Within. So I am going to start with another poem, that is The Cold Within. So whatever I will write, first of all, you get the pen and paper with you all and write all the lines of the particular poem. So we have the poem, the next is, that is The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney. The Cold Within. I guess you all must be aware about the meaning of cold. Do you all know the meaning of cold? Bitter cold, cold. So first, before starting this, I would like to tell you something about the poet James Patrick. So James Patrick is an American poet, as all the poems. On the last poem also, there's also, I told you all, James Patrick was an American poet who wrote this poem in 1960s, you know. Although it was first rejected, this poem was first rejected. Nobody liked this poem at all, as being too controversial. This poem was too controversial, so nobody liked it. It was rejected. It gained popularity rapidly after it had been read out at a council meeting of all the religions. On that time it was accepted by all. So the poem describes the tragic death of a group of 6 who stand around a fire. The poet describes the tragic death of people. And how many people do you know? 6. All were 6. The poet employs the medium of prose and poetry. Here when you will see the lines, you will get there is a mixture of prose and poetry. A kind of narrative poetry it is. That is a hybrid of poem and a very short story. I love this poem because it has a great moral in it. To protest against bigotry and racism. Each stanza has 4 lines. Here when you will read it, each stanza has 4 lines, 2 sentences. Each stanza has 4 lines and 2 sentences. And with 8 syllables. Then another 2 with 6, back and forth. In the first and last stanza, there is a different tone when compared to the rest of the poem. The first is used like an introduction, an exposition to a story. The last is used as a conclusion. That is why I am telling it's a combination of a poem as well as a short story or resolution. However, the use of the form and rhythm creates the work into a poem. The speaker shifts tones in the first stanza because the rest of the poem is the actual lesson being taught and the last stanza is the overall big picture. What exactly is the picture? Here in this poem, the poet uses diction to project this point. The line that the poet starts his poem with is 6 humans trapped. So how many humans are there in this? 6 humans. In this poem you will be getting 6 humans trapped by happenstance. Happenstance means by chance. His diction in this line is very important to the overall theme of the poem. By saying 6 humans, it is almost as if he is talking about all humans. Another curious use of diction is by saying trapped. Trapped in happenstance. Happenstance. Happenstance meaning an event that might have been arranged although it is accidental, by chance. This use of diction is important because by saying that this is accidental yet almost seems arranged, everything is arranged, gives the reader a sense that they are supposed to be there. The fact that he says they are trapped suggests that they do not want to be in the situation, but they cannot escape. They don't want to be in that situation, but they cannot escape also. So this poem basically is very simple yet powerful reminder that if we selfishly hold on to the poet's resources and the wealth that it has to offer, if we persist in discriminating on grounds of race, religion, caste, gender, we are all lost. First paragraph I am going to write, and very clearly I am again and again telling you all, write in your paper, notebook, wherever, whatever is suitable to you all, wherever you all want, please do write it. 6 humans trapped. Trapped meanings 6 humans trapped. Where were they trapped? By happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the stories told. This is the first paragraph, consists of 4 lines. So I am going to read the starting 4 lines. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. In bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the stories told. Or so the stories told. 6 humans. First of all, humans means the persons. Humans means the person. But here the poet uses the word humans, not the people, as so to refer to the all human beings. All human beings. That is why he did not use the word people over here. He has used the word humans because he is talking about the all human beings. Trapped. Trapped means got into a difficulty or a very grave situation. Happenstance. By chance. Trapped. Trapped meaning got into a difficulty. Happenstance means by chance or accidentally. In bleak, bleak means unpleasant. Unpleasant. Bitter means freezing cold. Freezing cold. Freezing cold. Possessed. Possessed means I held. Held. So 6 humans were entrapped together by chance. Entrapped together by chance in a freezing cold. And if suppose they are trapped means what? They had no way to escape from there. They had no way to escape from there. You know where they were trapped? They found over there the dying fire. Fire, you know? Dying fire. Bonfire, we put it at our home. So there they get the dying fire. Dying fire means that needs something. That needed to be fed with logs of wood. If suppose we will put some wood in that, then only it will blow now. So they found a dying fire and sat near it to keep themselves warm because it was very bitter cold. So they get a dying fire over there and all 6 were sitting. All 6 were sitting nearby. And each of them, the dying fire, was their only hope to survive. If suppose this dying fire will go, so definitely they all 6 will die. So the dying fire was their only hope to survive, or only hope of their survival. Each of them, you know what they had? Each of them had a stick of wood. Everybody, each of them, they have a stick of wood. Now, this is how the story is narrated. Now, the very first paragraph, the poet has started the story in a very rhythmic style. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. I guess this is clear to you all. Yes, everyone? Or so the story is told. So 6 humans were accidentally trapped in an extremely cold wave. They had no escape from the serious situation. They found the dying fire and sat near. They found the dying fire and they sat near it to keep themselves warm. The dying fire because the only source of their survival. Each one of them held a stick of wood. As the fire was the fast dying, no one came forward to add the fuel to the dying fire. And how will they add fuel? They have to give their stick to the fire. Then only they will add fuel to the fire. To the dying fire, sorry. They did so because they had their own resource. They had their own reasons not to give up their sticks to the dying fire. And this is how it is told in the story. So after reading this, we have come to know, because 6 humans means there are 6 kinds of people. Definitely they don't belong to the same caste, religion. So that is why this story, this full entire poem was written. So by using the word humans, the poet wants to draw attention to the gathering of the as a specific individual rather than as the collective group. The poet has used the word dark and bitter, describing the cold add to the ominous feelings. The word happenstance is deliberately used to suggest that the situation in which 6 men have been trapped is prearranged, even though it is accidental. Even though it is accidental, then too it was prearranged. In bleak and bitter, again the poet has repeated the letters. It means he has used the word alliteration. Next paragraph I am going to write. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Second paragraph that I am going to write. If I am writing the lines on the board, it is your duty to take the pen or pencil, take your notebook or the copy or the paper, whatever is you have at home, and try to write down all those things. So second paragraph They are dying fire in need of logs. When you will read this poem now, you will get easily the meaning of all the lines, because it's a kind of a story type, you know. They are dying fire in need of logs, but the first one means the number one, first one. But the first one held hers back. Held hers back. For of the faces round the fire. Round the fire. She noticed one was black. Black, you know, the one who possesses a black color. One was black. So they are dying fire in need of books. What their dying fires needs? They are dying fire in needs of wood. Here the poet has used the word logs. Can you see the meaning of logs? Thick pieces of wood. Logs means thick pieces of wood. The first, here the poet has used the word the first. The first till the back. The first till the back. The first one was not prepared to add the fuel into the dying fire with his own stick. Doesn't want for fire. For of the faces round the fire, as he had seen the face of the black man in the glow of the dying fire. As the dying fire was there, he or she had seen the face of the black. And black means belonging to a race of the people with dark skin. With dark skin. As the fire was dying, it greatly needed to be fed with logs of wood. It could be kept lighted only if one of them came forward to supply fuel in it with his own stick. With his own stick. Only the dying fire needs the stick of wood to blow. The first man did not want to give away his stick because thought that by doing so the life of the black would be saved. Hence, what did she do? You know, he or she held back his stick, showing his clear intention. Clear intention means I don't want to do, I will not do. In fact, he or she suffered from the feeling of racial prejudice. Racial prejudice. He or she has not given. As the fire was dying very fast, it greatly needed to be supplied with logs of wood. But the first person who suffered from the racial prejudice had seen a black man in the group. What did he see? A black man in the group of people in the glow of fire. At once, he gave up the idea to add fuel to the dying fire with his own stick. He or she, so much overwhelmed, they were so happy with the feeling of this, that nothing could force him to make welfare of others. He did not want to save the life of the black. Hence, he or she kept his stick to himself. One held hers back, kept his stick at the back. Clear, everyone? So here in the second paragraph also, the poet points out that there is a lack of warmth and compassion in human beings, just because due to the racism, envy, arrogance, revenge, greed. Mankind is thought to be better than the animal world, but at the same time we have created discriminations among ourselves at different levels, because we have shown the discrimination towards the black. Again, the poet has used F and F. Which line he has used? F and F over here. Again, the poet has used which figure of speech? That is the alliteration. He is repeating the letters. Now again, the dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held her back. For of the faces round the fire, she noticed one was black. So he also did not give his log of wood because he saw one of them was black. Clear, everyone? Now I'm going to write the third paragraph. So whatever I am writing, it's a request to you all. Write it down in your notebook, copy. Do write it down. So third paragraph. The next man okay, I guess our time is up. So we'll be starting with the third paragraph. No, I guess 10 minutes are left. So third paragraph I am not going to start it. So till second paragraph only. Again I am reading and I am explaining again. First and second paragraph I am repeating and I am starting again. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Their dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back. For of the faces round the fire, she noticed one was black. So 6 humans were entrapped together by chance in a freezing cold. They had no way to escape from there. They found the dying fire and sat near it to keep themselves warm. The dying fire was their only hope of a survival. But each of them had a stick of wood. But they had their own reasons not to add the fuel in the dying fire. This is how the story is narrated. As the fire was dying, it greatly needed to be fed with logs of wood. It could be kept lighted only if one of them came forward to supply fuel in it with his own stick. The first man did not want to give away his stick because he thought that by doing so, the life of the black would be saved. Hence, he held back his stick. He or she held back her or his stick, showing his clear intention that he or she does not want to help at all. And to whom? A black person. In fact, he suffered from the feeling of the racial prejudice. So here the poet is suffering from the feeling of racial prejudice. So the poet wants to tell, we all are the human beings of this particular universe. We should not do this. When you will read this, the entire story, the entire poem, you will get the meaning of the things, the sins that we do. And if suppose we do any wrong thing, definitely that comes to us only. So we should not do all those things. We should not be in the caste, creed and all systems. We should be free. We should help others. So till here it is okay. 2 paragraphs, get the meaning, get the lines from the net. Till then, happy, safe, stay happy and safe and healthy with your family. In the next lecture, I will be continuing with my 3rd paragraph with the same poem. Clear, everyone? Thank you. Bye-bye.